Thank you very much for joining us. I was hoping you could introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself to start us off.
Yeah, sure. Hello, my name's John Groves. I'm basically a composer, but I've gone onto other things. I'm really interested in music. In fact, music's my life. I don't want to be like somebody saying a cliche, but I started at a very young age and have had the pleasure of being able to do music professionally. Now, I'm one of these guys that write very short compositions called jingles. These are used for advertising to make people remember stuff. You think about making a knot in a handkerchief to remind you of something. I create things called sonic mnemonics to make associations. Now, I didn't know it at that time when I started doing this job. Well, what I was doing was creating something called Pavlovian reactions. Now, these Pavlovian reactions come from a doctor called Pavlov, and he was doing an experiment with dogs. He was trying to measure their gastric juices, and he had them all sort of in this laboratory. Sorry for you dog lovers, but he was measuring their gastric juices, and there was a little bell which would ring when it was time for them to have their dinner. And one day, the bell rang, and the person didn't bring the dinner, but the dog started dribbling anyway. So this is where it was established scientifically that you can index sound in the mind to trigger a response. So this is what got me interested then in mental health, and basically to be able to find out what sounds can trigger what responses. And the rest, as they say, is just history.
I was hoping you could tell us a bit more about that and expand on your sort of discoveries and how it works.
Okay. Now, well, what I sort of discovered was that this exists already. You know, I didn't invent anything. There's been a lot of research for sound and music in health. In fact, it goes back to the ancient Greeks. And it is used. There's music therapy, which is used a lot these days, and sound therapy. But what is new possibly about this kind of receptive sound therapy that's used in the app Sonic Tonic is that various systems are mixed together. The power of music, but also of vibrationary medicine in something called brainwave entrainment. Now, this is using sound, and we're talking about sound and not music here, about different sounds that are specially made to steer the speed, we can say, of your thoughts. You know, if you think of brain waves, they are very similar to music waves and sound waves. So the brain is then synchronized with these sounds that you play in there. So if we have a lot of stress and we want to slow down, then we would play in sounds of a certain rhythm with vibrations that vibrate at the tempo of the brain waves we want to get to. So that is one way. The other way, the other method is the spoken word, autosuggestion. Now, I studied something called autogenic training, which really helped me. And I was very against anything that was going to sort of be too much new age. But this was something that really helped, because I realized then that what you hear will influence the way you think, and what you think will influence the way you feel. So mixing all these things together and to target them for a certain mental problem, I discovered that you can actually help people.
So, are you writing these pieces specifically, or are you finding sounds or pieces of music that work?
Yeah, no, well, they are being made specifically. Now, we're not talking about pieces of music. That would go into music therapy. And to be a music therapist, this is something where you would be qualified and you would consult single people or groups. This is called receptive sound therapy because by being receptive, you just receive it. You just have to listen. And it's something to really influence your mental well-being. And it's not like meditation where you have to learn something. You really have to just listen. Well, in fact, you don't have to listen. You just have to hear. So when you say about composing something, what it is about really is cooking something using some set ingredients. And these ingredients are things such as a spoken word to be able to give positive affirmations. It is about using even sound effects, so the effects of nature, and of course music, and mixing up these things into a very good balance to take care of the disturbance that we're addressing.
Is there anything else you'd like to cover that we've not quite covered yet?
Yeah, well, I think what is important is that, in a lot of cases where people are just suffering in silence with something like stress, I'd like your listeners to know that there is help out there. Sometimes they will say, well, what you're doing, can this replace medication? If I've got anxiety or depression. And I would tell them that, I don't want to be irresponsible and say stop taking your tablets. But there are certain cases where receptive sound therapy can actually replace medication. Like if we're talking about sleep, so many people are popping tablets before they go to sleep, and probably unnecessary. They should probably take care of their sleep hygiene. And sonic tonic is something which most definitely will help a lot of people there, because it will get rid of this circular thinking that many people have, trying to solve problems instead of sleeping. So there, I would say, yes, it can replace the medication. Fear of flying is something lots of people can find it very debilitating. In fact, they will probably take a boat or a bus or whatever. But there are many cases where actually using Sonic Tonic, which is the app that contains this mixture, they take this with them on the plane and they listen to it, and they don't have to take any tablets anymore on the plane. But when we come to anxiety and depression, then I'd be a little bit more careful. But there, I would also say people that suffer from anxiety, I would tell them that there have been a number of cases where things have happened very positively, where patients have been treated very successfully, where the anxiety that leads to panic attacks can be stopped by creating this sonic mnemonic, by creating a sound which would trigger a certain reaction, and perhaps to stop the anxiety from accelerating. So it's a question of trying these things out. So your question, can it replace medication? Yes, most definitely it can.
So if our listeners would like to find out more, how can they do that?
Yeah, well, actually, they should just try it out. If they go to the website where all of this stuff is, which is Sonic Tonic, all one word, .io. There they will be able to download the app to try it for themselves, but they'll also be able to read about it, which, there are certain people that really don't want to know much about things. They will just say, I just want to switch on the light and it should be lights, and I don't want to know how it works. But there are others who will need convincing. And on this website, there's a place called the Knowledge Pyramid. And the Knowledge Pyramid contains details about each of these ingredients, each of these techniques used in Sonic Tonic, and it will convince the people that need convincing and inform the people that would like to know more about it. It's done like a pyramid, that there's easy stuff at the top, and at the bottom there are scientific reports and studies from some of the world's most renowned universities. So they should download the app at sonictonic.io and give it a try.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to our listeners today.
That is my pleasure, and if it helps somebody, then it's a great feeling.